This is on.
So sweet.
Good morning. We're so glad to see many of you here. Welcome to the Vaccra Meeting. As you know, we meet the third Friday of every month in this room, the Fellowship Hall, at 10 o'clock. We're so pleased so many of you were able to come here this morning. We have some news. We have just over 100 members of Vaccra here at Cedarfield. We could have more. And we want more. Are there any new members here this morning? Yes, great. Any members who know somebody who is sort of thinking about becoming a member? I happen to have the application with me. If you would like to take it to your friends, your neighbor, and talk with them about Vaccra, give them the information. That's Barbara or Sally Wood or me. We'll be glad to talk with them. I want to thank Ro for being our secretary today. Sally was unable to be here. Thank you, Ro. And Martha Cole Glenn is still recovering at Sheltering Arms. So we're missing two people here. Where's Carol? Carol Marco. We want to express to you our sincere thanks for all the work and effort you put in to the January 28th meeting. We appreciate you. I wanted to tell you that on February the 3rd, Barbara and I had about a 30-minute meeting with Paul Gregg. It was a good meeting. We discussed Vaccra. We discussed who we are, what our goals are. We described our approach to things. And we recognized with him that Pinnacle Living Board seems to have a problem with us. Although they've never met us, they have never talked with us, they have not visited here with us, even though they were invited to do so. That invitation was rejected. We described our previous meetings with Chris Henderson and the results of those meetings. We invited Paul to attend our meetings and to support us. And we recognize he's management, so he can only offer support so far. We also mentioned the necessity for town hall meetings to begin as soon as possible, as soon as it's safely possible to do so. And we talked about the effectiveness of those town hall meetings.
And they are coming up starting March 2nd.
Yeah, starting March 2nd. That's great. And we also explained to him, to Paul, that we would like to have more of a decision-making process that affects our lives, rather than continue with the custodial kind of care that was prevalent in CCCs when back in the 40s. We would like to take a part in that process. And that means resident on the board, which is not happening now and will take a lot of effort and a lot of time for that to happen. Barbara, oh, would somebody get the door, please? Thank you. Thank you. We pointed out that the meeting on January 28th would not have happened if Vaccra had not planned and executed it. Paul was very interested in what we were saying. He listened, he made comments, and I think Barbara and I both left the meeting feeling like here was somebody we can talk with. Barbara, do you want to add anything to this?
And you understand, anybody who attends a meeting, each of you walks away with a different perspective. Paul is a gentle man. He's a very good listener, but he stated quite publicly he cannot affect that change of bringing about a board member. We understand that, but still we believe we can work with him.
Good. Thank you, Barbara. I agree with what you said here. Let's move on to the January 28th meeting with Carol and James. Did you find it effective? I see people clapping. What do you think of programs like this? Would you be interested in other topics? You would. What kind of topics would you be interested in? Any particular one?
How decisions are made for cutting staff.
How decisions are made for cutting staff. Great. Good question. Okay. What else? Jim?
And just on the other end of that, how are the made in hiring staff?
I can't hear you.
How are the decisions made to hire staff?
How are decisions made to hire staff? Another good one. Anybody else? Yes.
I'd like to know more about the current board members, their backgrounds, and their uniqueness to serve on our board.
We would like to know more about the board members of our governing board at Pinnacle Living, their background, what qualifies them to be on the board. Good question. Yes.
I don't know what, along that line, I don't know what the possibility would be of having Chris Henderson come here and talk to us and address exactly what she said. I think that topic is important, but best served by the board member.
Okay. Would it be possible for Chris Henderson to come here and talk with us about that very question of board members, their background, and what makes them uniquely acceptable to be on the board? Yes, another question.
And have that board member prepared to tell us why they are not anxious for Vaccra to be an important force, if you will. A voice. Why?
A voice, yes.
Because it seems they want very, very much for, to ignore us and for us to go away.
That's an impression we have. They have never said that to us because, as I said, repeat the question, of course. I'm too busy answering the question. Have a board member tell us why they are not responding to us, and why are they reluctant to talk with us, why are they reluctant to accept an invitation from us, and that would help us to understand them. Right.
They're not going to do it.
Pardon?
They're not going to do it.
This person says they're not going to do it. We don't know. We'll try again.
We're trying.
We always, that's what we do. We always try. We never give up, and we push forward with our efforts. And that's the only way to get anything accomplished, even incrementally. Any other ideas on our Ask and Learn program, such as we had the 28th? Yes, Dolly.
Sorry I'm so far away, but
We have
would it be possible for the lady who runs Vaccra here in Virginia to come and visit?
Yes, that would be possible. The executive committee met with her. Penny Jez is her name. She lives at Covenant Woods. She is the president of Vaccra. And we met with her a couple of months ago. And at that time, she said she would be willing to come and talk with us.
The question was not heard.
The question was not heard. I'm sorry. You know, we need somebody to run the mic. Can anybody do that? That would help, because sometimes I'm so wrapped up in the question I don't repeat it. Sorry. The question was, could the president of the state Vaccra come and visit with us and talk with us here at Cedarfield? Yes, she can. She has offered to do that, and we will plan for her to do that. Her name is Penny Jez, and she lives at Covenant Woods. Yes, Barbara.
I believe there are still questions.
I believe there are still questions about the financial reports and the budget. For instance, Jacqueline asked the question, what are administrative costs? And that was very revealing as to all the items that are under that category. It seems to me each of those categories deserves an explanation.
Right. Yes, Jacqueline.
I think it would
Wait a minute. Let me get you the mic.
I think it would behoove Chris to show up because in the interest of transparency for one, and secondly, we pay a salary.
We will ask. We will certainly ask. We're good at asking. Any other ideas? If you have an idea for an Ask and Learn program, which we will be trying to do about every other month or so, and all residents, not just Vaccra members, but all residents will be invited, and it will be live streamed. We do plan to have another Ask and Learn on March, excuse me, on March it's at the 18th, the third Friday in March. It will be centered around healthcare and the Medicare certified beds in healthcare. Dr. Mary Ann Johnson will be the presenter. She's a resident here. She is a practicing physician. She knows a great deal about the Medicare end of it. We are hoping that Paul Gregg will have the time to come and be a presenter along with Mary Ann. You will be getting more information on that. Like you did for the other program, it'll be put in every residence box. It will be announced. So please spread the word. It should be a very interesting program. We all have questions about health care, and we all have questions about Medicare. I thought you would like to have an update on House Bill 425. That was the bill that Delegate Rodney Willett tried to get through the General Assembly. It pertained to the ombudsman. And at the last minute, I'm afraid that the legislative committee of Vaccra, state Vaccra, inserted in there mandating a resident on the governing boards. Unfortunately, they did not listen to those of us who know that that would never pass in the General Assembly and probably not get out of hearing this year. Sure enough, it did not. It was tabled. We had a lot of speakers from Leading Age, from other CCCs, and from Pinnacle Living and others to speak against it. And it was tabled. So nothing is going to happen this year. But right now, our state legislative, state Vaccra legislative committee is working on our efforts to continue. And they're planning some strategies to work with this and try to get something done through the General Assembly later. It's not going to happen this year.
Wait a minute.
Oh, excuse me.
What was Pinnacle Living's rationale speaking against?
Interesting you should ask.
What was Pinnacle Living's rationale for speaking against it, and what were the points made?
We have hard copies of the hearing, so you can hear Pinnacle Living, you can read Pinnacle Living, Leading Age, Vaccra, you can hear everybody, you can read everybody's comments. I looked at the video, so that's why I've got hearing in my mind. But we do have some hard copies. We have some today we can hand to you. We don't have enough for everybody, so if you'd like to sign up to get a hard copy, we will get that to you. Let me see. Are you doing the sign-up sheets, Barbara? Okay. We also have a hard copy for you of a letter that was written to Delegate Rodney Willett from one of our members and a member of the Legislative Committee and our Executive Committee. Martha Cole Glenn wrote a letter to Delegate Willett because of the statement he made at the very end of the committee hearing. When you read it, you'll understand why the letter was written. I also have copies of that letter if you want it, if you want to sign up for it. The letter spells out specifics of our concern and some of the misleading testimony that was given. We did get the attention, through this hearing, we got the attention of the State Corporation Committee, State Corporation Commission, in that they promised to improve their complaint line and data collection. The SCC actually acknowledged that the 800 complaint line and their web page could be improved and made more user-friendly. The comment was made that they had not received many complaints, and apparently nobody ever put those two comments together. The web page is not user-friendly, and the 800 complaint line has a lot of problems, but they don't get many complaints. Who knows? Anyway, we're glad that they recognize that, and we're glad we got their attention. Do you have any questions about anything that I have said, or that anybody has asked or said? Any questions? Do you?
I wondered if you wanted to read what Chris Henderson said.
Sure, go
I
right
think
ahead.
it's important. Chris Henderson said in front of our legislative committee, "We were founded in 1948 as the Methodist Home, and over the years we've grown to 5 diverse communities. Across Virginia, serving over 1,400 residents. Today, I am respectfully speaking against HB 425. In recognition of your limited time, I'd like to focus my comments on what Ben has referred to as the multi-generational fiduciary duty role of the Board of Directors. As a provider with a proven track record for providing quality services to our residents for over 75 years, we are one of many organizations who have chosen not to invite residents to serve on our board of directors. Our board members serve as fiduciary for Pinnacle Living, not the day-to-day manager of the communities. It's important to note that as a fiduciary, our board acts on behalf of those who serve now and in the future. It's also important to note that the long-term viability of our mission is the primary focus of our board. Putting the interests of our mission and those we serve today ahead of their own personal desires. 3 excellent examples of that long-term vision are the development of Cedarfield in 1996, the development of Windsor Mead in 2008, and a recent $90 million redevelopment of our Cedarfield campus that began 3 years ago. Without the board's focus on the future and enriching the lives of future generations, we would have never developed those communities. Our board members rely on our professional management team to manage the heavily regulated day-to-day operations of our communities. Our management team works closely and transparently with our residents, typically through our residents' associations, to improve the services we offer every day. That work includes regular monthly meetings with the elected members of the Residents' Council. At Cedarfield, for example, our team meets regularly with 13 committees of the council. We have regular conversations concerning the successes and failures of the organization and the opportunities those create. We publish detailed financial information of our residents annually, quarterly, and monthly for our residents. We've established formal processes related to budget development and the operational impact of the budget adjustments at both Cedarfield and Windsor Mead. We understand that the governance model that we use is unique to us, but we believe that it works well, as shown by the General Assembly, by the success of our communities. Therefore, we respectfully do not believe that it is wise for the General Assembly to legislate board governance membership, as each organization must have flexibility to decide board member skill sets needed for the long-term viability and fiduciary role of those boards.
You really need a copy of that to reread it and hear what is being said. Jane.
we need to focus a lot.
Wait a minute, yeah.
I think we need to focus a lot on bringing more transparency
Yes.
to what the Residents Council does and does not get to do, as well as the board.
Yes. And I think one of our meetings we talked very specifically about that. And we're hoping that's going to happen. In response to what, yes.
I brought this up at the last meeting.
Just a minute, let's get you a mic.
Okay, thank you. I brought this up at the last meeting,
Yes.
and he mentions in his response here that there's a qualified members of the board, and I would like to know how they're selected and what their qualifications are, because and the background to my question is someone told me a while ago that they just bring their friends on and their ministers and they're this, that, and the other thing. And I don't know if any of that is true. I would like to know who the board members are, what their qualifications are, and how they are selected. So he made
Yes.
reference to that in this
Yes.
response. So can we get that information?
Yes, we can. We have that information. We have a listing of the board members. We don't have a 2022 listing, but we do have a listing of the board members, and I don't know how often that's published. I'm sure it's in their disclosure statement.
It's on the internet.
It is on the internet, and I will tell you this. That was a question that I asked Chris when Barbara and I met with him a year ago, Barbara? A year ago or so? Yes. His answer was, board members serve three-year periods. They are selected by board members to become board members. He did not talk about the qualifications. We did at the time ask, are there business people on the board? And at that time there was one. And I have forgotten her name. But we do have a list, and we can get you that. But look on the internet, under Pinnacle Living, board members. Yeah. In response to what Chris said and to the statement at the end of the hearing that Rodney Willett said, I would like to share with you this letter. Do we have time for the letter?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
What was his comment?
I'm gonna read them to you. Well, you just heard some of Chris's comments. Willett, yeah. I'm gonna get you that. This was dated January 29th, 2022, to the Honorable Rodney Willett, House of Delegates, Virginia General Assembly. Dear Rod, as a member of the Vaccra Legislative Committee and a resident of Cedarfield, which is managed by Pinnacle Living, I'm writing about our experience with House Bill 425. First, I want to thank you and Colleen for all your hard work on the issue, and I was pleased to work with Penny on her excellent testimony. While we were not successful in moving the bill forward, I personally believed we accomplished something and are grateful to you for this accomplishment. We have certainly gotten the attention of the SCC and our opposition, with the latter sending in the big guns to crush us with testimony which could be characterized as misleading. We were aware of the opposition's position on resident board representation, and you might remember my stating in the Zoom session that such a provision in the bill would certainly deep six it. Moving forward, it is up to us in Vaccra to increase our membership and monitor the promises of the SCC to improve their complaint line and data collection. We will be back. The testimony of Chris Henderson, President and CEO of Pinnacle Living, was curious because, in my opinion, it failed to address the argument of Cedarfield's Vaccra's reason for seeking Pinnacle board membership for a resident of Cedarfield. As you may know, we have met with him twice before and experienced his very vocal opposition to residents serving on corporate managing boards. Henderson's testimony drew a contrast, stating that board operations have a multi-generational fiduciary role for Pinnacle Living, not as the day-to-day manager for its communities. He then detailed management's role in relating to resident council and 13 resident committees at Cedarfield. There is always room for much better communication, which could start immediately with the reinstitution of town hall meetings, our most effective transparency vehicle at Cedarfield. But that is not our major concern. Our major concern is the lack of transparency and communication when it comes to fiduciary issues. As a member of Cedarfield Vaccra's executive committee, two concrete examples come to mind. First, it is a fact that Virginia state law allows corporations to keep their bylaws confidential. But other CCRCs, examples, Covenant Woods and Goodwin House in Alexandria, share their bylaws with residents, with copies in the resident libraries. When we ask Pinnacle for a copy of the bylaws, we are told they're confidential. Secondly, residents here have been eager for a down-to-earth explanation of the Pinnacle financial report. This came about the other day as we of Vaccra invited the head of our resident council finance committee, who asked the head of Cedarfield's business office to accompany her to make a presentation. I'm attaching a copy of the minutes of the meeting where you can see that the multiple questions relating to fiduciary issues indicated that residents do not trust Pinnacle because of a lack of transparency from the Pinnacle board. Yet the meeting was an example, yes, the meeting was an example of transparency, but we initiated the meeting because Pinnacle never has. I must admit, I was surprised at your comment, Rod Willett's comment, at the hearing that you were not talking about Pinnacle because it is well managed. That's what he said at the end of the meeting. The very last comment at the meeting was by Delegate Willett, who explained to the committee what he had said earlier didn't include Cedarfield because he thought that was well managed. What Martha Cole is saying is, where did that come from? It certainly did not come from the residents of Cedarfield, who have increased our Vaccra membership from 70 to 90 at that time, in 3 months. From the perspective of the residents of Cedarfield, good management is not respected if there is a lack of transparency and communication. Well-managed organizations are transparent and communicate. Lack of transparency and communication breeds mistrust. Having a resident with appropriate qualifications on the board would go a long way to building trust. Pinnacle Living can begin by having more transparency and better communication. Until that happens, we question whether we or anyone else can say Pinnacle and Cedarfield are well managed. You, as a good friend of ours at Cedarfield, can help us achieve our goal. Martha Colblin. Anybody want a copy of that letter? Anybody want a copy of the hearing? We have some for you, yes. Any questions? Comments?
Thank you.
We thank the legislative committee who got the hard copy for us, and we thank Martha Cole for writing the letter.
It seems that we don't trust them and they don't trust us.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And that's a problem.
That is a problem, and I might have forgotten to mention that we did mention that to Paul. And we also mentioned one of the things we would like to do is to help residents to trust Pinnacle, and in turn help Pinnacle to trust us. Yes?
So, as I've been thinking about this issue for a long time, I was wondering, what we're wanting is a seat at the table. Is it, and I think this clearly is going to be achieved in baby steps.
Yes, it will be achieved in baby steps, yes.
So maybe one of the steps, maybe the main step, the ultimate step is having a seat at the table, but maybe not a voting seat. I was thinking if we maybe push to have a person in the room, a set of ears, if you will, not a voting person, but someone who is hearing, where we can start to tackle this problem of transparency and communication, and not ask to eat the whole elephant in one sitting, but ask for something reasonable but small, a different beginning place. It seems to me we're jumping in at the end instead of the beginning when we had an uphill fight.
There are CCCs who have resident representation without a vote. Many of them say, once you go that route, it's difficult to get the vote. Many have resident representation with a vote. So it can go either way.
Yeah.
But that is one way, if that's the only way, if that's the only way, yeah.
It's a different way.
It is a different way.
That.
But what some folks are afraid of is once you get somebody on the board without a vote, will you ever get the vote?
Well, we're not getting it this way.
We're not getting anything right now. That's the reason we want to go very incrementally and with support of others. Yeah. Any other comments? Anybody want to jump in about that? Yes. Wait a minute, we need a mic over here. Watch our time, Barbara.
It's my understanding.
How many more?
20.
It's my understanding Windsor Mead, as you know, is a separate corporation.
Yes.
And as of January 1, I believe they have a resident who is non-voting on that board.
Yes, they do.
And in Chris's statement, he said 5 facilities.
Mm-hmm.
And he was counting Windsor Mead.
That's correct. That is correct. Any other comments, questions? Yes, Nancy.
I support all of the issues that were brought up today, very definitely. I think we need a representative. It just bothers me a little bit as a lifelong Methodist that it seems we're kind of pretty negative a little bit towards the Methodist Church.
No, we're not negative to the church.
I just want to remind people that people do care about people in all these facilities. And the Samaritan Fund is so much a part of every single Methodist church in their drive to support and be sure we are taken care of. And I think everybody knows that, but somehow in this conversation, I feel like we need to be reminded of it.
Mm-hmm.
I am for having a representative, but I just felt I needed to say that.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you. I too am lifelong Methodist, and I remember every spring, I believe it was, we took up special collections for the Samaritan Fund. Yeah. Anybody else have something to say? Now's your opportunity. No comments? Okay. Barbara, do you have anything else? No? Okay. Ro, thank you again for doing this work for us. Pardon? Yeah. There's a sign-up sheet in the back. Please do not leave without signing up. We want to know how many were here. We have some hard copies over here at this table, and if you don't get one and want one of the hearing and of the letter, please sign your name and your address for that. Okay?
Thank the meeting for next month.
Yes, we have the meeting for next month. We talked about that, the healthcare meeting that will be live streamed, and we hope all of you will be here the third Friday at 10 o'clock in the fellowship hall. And our meetings for the next several months will be in the fellowship hall at 10 o'clock, third Friday. We've got it reserved already. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it. We appreciate all of you. Thank you very much.
I need to put up with you. Okay. You want one?
Wow, that's